Welcome to Fitness Casual. We help you ditch diets and build habits no matter how busy you are, even in the summer. I'm Andrew Hayes, and with me is Chef Kat Best.
Hi, everyone.
Kat, what's your favorite cuisine, or one of, when you go out to eat?
So I think I like more Latin cuisine. I love like a nice pork, like a pulled pork situation, or like a chimichurri steak, fajita. I just really like those flavors. I like guacamole. I love plantains, all the ways those are made. So I think that's one of my go-tos. It's also really easy for me to work around being gluten-free, dairy-free in those situations. Certain like Italian cuisine, forget it, never happening. But for me, yeah, anything either Asian, like Thai, Japanese is very easy, or like Mexican food, very easy to be gluten-free, dairy-free, I think.
Love it. That's fantastic. I will shout out Burmese food, which outside of like
Ooh.
hearing Burma slash Myanmar or whatever you want to call it, like on the news, I didn't know anything about their cuisine, but in San Francisco, there's several very famous restaurants. And so we lived around the corner from one and it was awesome. I would describe it,
Cool.
for lack of a better term, as Asian fusion. A lot of noodles. They have this famous tea leaf salad. They have a whole cookbook that we own. It's really, really good stuff. A lot of garlic.
Cool.
It's really yummy. And so if you've never done Burmese and you ever come across a Burmese restaurant, assuming it doesn't look super sketch, definitely try it out. I loved Burmese food.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Chinese food always rocks. Always.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Always hits.
right. Although, like, now that I've gotten a little more attuned to how I feel after I eat a meal, it's like it's really hard to get, like General Tso's chicken, because you're like,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
what's going to happen. I'm
Oh,
playing this
man.
movie in my head, and in 40 minutes, I'm going to be like doubled over on the couch. Is it really worth it?
Yep.
But there's elevated Chinese food, too. It doesn't have to be Panda
Yeah.
Express.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're talking dining out today, which is something that we do all year, but I think particular in the summer, we lean towards maybe there's a patio, maybe we're sitting outside, maybe we're meeting friends. It's really one of my favorite things about the summer is just letting the kids run around like uncaged animals while I sit outside and enjoy a meal. And I'm sure many parents and non-parents feel the same. So what tips do we have today, Kat?
So for restaurants, I'm also going to be speaking in terms of people who aren't tracking macros. So these are really basic. I think if you are tracking macros, actually the strategies are different, but not talking about that. So one would be don't drink your calories, eat them. I think not having sugary sodas or lemonades or iced teas, that in a big restaurant size glass is an easy 250 calories maybe. So even if you have two of those, like now we're talking like an excessive amount of calories. So I think that's an easy one. Get water, or if you're drinking alcohol, just be mindful of how much you're consuming. But I do think those beverages that aren't all that important really shouldn't be something you consume, as just a very easy way to conserve sugar and calories. And drink lots of water. I think that's always helpful, but that's a really easy one.
I will just add to that. This is a callback to our very first podcast episode ever about alcohol. But I do think many people, as a drinker, I can say this too, we don't practice mindful drinking when we go out to eat. And you can tell, like, the waiters are all trained, the servers are all trained to be like, oh, can I start you with a drink? And I think the first question you want to ask yourself is like, do I really want a drink right now? Because we're so used to like slamming a drink with our appetizer and then getting a bottle of wine with our entree. And like it adds up quickly. And sometimes I find myself just like slugging wine while conversing with friends, while also eating pasta. And you're like, did I even remember drinking this? Maybe. And if that's what you want, that's fine. But maybe you're going to have a lot better of a time having a meal and then having a nightcap after, or going out for happy hour and then having a meal later. It's really easy to just add $50 to your bill as well when you're just throwing on drinks every time the server suggests it. So again, if that's what you want and you've accounted for it, great, but just be careful. Mindless drinking can really creep up when you're out to eat because they really push it on you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, next would be watching out for toppings, dressings, condiments, mayo, candied nuts, even on a salad. Like all of those little things can add hundreds of extra calories. So if you're getting a healthy salad, but it's loaded up with cheese, bacon, candied walnuts, and a dressing, that's so much fat. Like you have no idea how much fat that is. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but for people who want to watch their weight, like if you go out and you get something that you think is healthy but it's actually 1,200 calories, like that's pretty wild, and nobody knows how many calories are actually in restaurant food. But if you let's go to like a California Pizza Kitchen where all their calories are on the menu, there's a reason that like there's multiple pages of like the under 500 because nothing else is under 500. Like even things you think are healthy are just they're unbelievably high calorie. So I do think getting dressing on the side, or even if you're getting sushi, to not get the mayo coating every single piece, that could be a good idea. And I know this could maybe take away from flavor, but these are just little things to do that could make a big difference so you can enjoy most of your meal, you know. And I think sometimes if we remove little things, it doesn't make that big of a difference, you know, and you kind of get used to it, or that trade-off is just worth it to you. So I think those are little things to keep an eye on. One other thing, your portion sizes at restaurants are just massive. It's actually on average 5 times larger than the portion size you actually need. Like we've all seen what ordering a side of fries looks like at a restaurant.
Yep.
That's an easy 1,000, 2,000 calories. Like it's just massive and it's fried and all that stuff. So just be aware going into it that the portions are going to be larger than you need. If you have the allotment for that, I think that's fine, but it's also very easy to take half home or split something with someone else. I actually think like splitting an appetizer and maybe like sharing 2 entrees with a little bit left over, that could be really good for as a way to, you know, eat a little bit less. But portion control at restaurants is hard because the food is really tasty. That's also because it has a lot more oil and butter and even sugar and salt and all of this stuff that when you make it at home, it doesn't taste the same. It's because you would be horrified to make it the same way at home. You would never would do that. So just keep that in mind. Even like you get a steak at a restaurant, it's probably 12 ounces, 16 ounces, just huge. You don't need that much. If you want to eat that much, fine. But if you're like, I'm going to order the steak and intentionally eat half, take half home, now you have a meal for the next day. That's a really good strategy. So I think leftovers are actually great to give yourself a break in the future when you don't want to cook. For people who feel weird about it, you could also just take the rest home and not eat it if you feel weird not finishing your food. I know like plate cleaners, like people feel weird about not finishing their meal or whatnot. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when it comes to portions. I think, you know, I care a lot less about what you order when you eat out, but if you're getting something that's pasta or noodles, like there's so many carbs in that, like an easy 200, 300, 400 grams maybe from like a big bowl of noodles, and nobody needs that all in one sitting. So that's just an easy thing to, you know, stay mindful of. You don't need to finish. And that, I think for some people, we go in with the intention of like, I'm going to take half home. And usually if someone says that out loud or we talk about it, they do that and they feel really good about it. It's like a, you know, a pride point. So I think, you know, keep that in mind.
And don't forget that fries in particular is a margin game. I mean, they dump fries on the plate because it costs them nothing to make, and it makes you feel like you got value. And so to your point, Kat, some people are at the clean plate club because they're like, well, I paid $25 for this burger, when 23 of that is going into the beef and the other, you know, the carbs are basically free. So don't feel pressure to finish it because you're just kind of being had as well. I know Five Guys, they're trained to fill the fry container and then dump another part into the bag just to make you feel like you're getting value because it costs them cents to do that. So like, we're not really talking about Five Guys here, but just a good example of like the restaurant doesn't care about the fries. They really just want you to feel like you're getting value because they're trying to take advantage.
Yeah, and if it costs you $3 to get a side salad instead of fries, pay that $3. It's not that big of a deal. I know people will be like, oh, $3. $3 is nothing. When you really think about it, and it's like, what an easy way to just not have the fries show up on your plate. Or maybe you get a side where everyone shares it versus it being on your direct plate. You know, that could be a good little hack as well. But I do think in general, you should watch out for fried foods. These are the most inflammatory. These are the ones when people tell me I had diarrhea after I ate out or I had heartburn or something, I know it's from just a collection of fried foods. Because most restaurant food, it can have sugar. That's more the dessert zone. But most meals, there's sneaky fried things in there. So that would be French fries, crispy chicken, anything tempura. Brussels sprouts at a restaurant, I am sure they are always deep fried. Like people, they're like, oh, I got the Brussels sprouts, the crispy Brussels sprouts. Anything that says crispy is deep fried. Anything that says roasted is not. But a restaurant, if it says a crispy Brussels sprout and it tastes like incredibly delicious, and it almost, if you were to squeeze that Brussels sprout and fat just like oozes out of it, it's usually deep fried. And I would say like it negates a little bit of the health effects there. They're delicious, like I agree, but we have to really watch if your veggies are deep fried, because I would say that's like not really getting the benefits you're looking for. And I think that's, you just need to be aware of that on restaurants, like looking for the keywords. Yeah, like crispy, or tempura, anything means it's fried. So just have an eagle eye for that. I think I always try to teach people also to balance out. If you want something fried, maybe don't get an alcoholic drink. Or if you want an alcoholic drink, maybe don't get dessert. It's kind of like we can pick one or two, but try not to have like all of these things at one meal, because it will just lead to you not feeling really good, and then also, could impact your goals pretty significantly. Unfortunately, one big meal out can kind of undo a caloric deficit for the week. I hate to say it, and I don't think that should mean people shouldn't do that, but if you do have a weight loss goal and you get a sneaky suspicion that your weekends are the reason that you're not getting to your goal, even though you're really good Monday through Friday, you're probably correct, and that's exactly what's going on. So pay attention to that. And then I'm going to upset people here, but there is no healthy dessert. Doesn't exist. Never seen it, never to be found on a menu.
Fruit?
Oh, yeah. I love when people are like, yeah, fruit. At a restaurant, you're just not going to have that option. So any dessert served at a restaurant is probably just filled with sugar and like not so good things. Doesn't mean you can't have it, but maybe that's good to split with someone or share. But don't trick yourself to thinking that there's like a healthy version of a dessert out there at a restaurant, because I really don't think that is the case. But if you just practice portion control, I think that's completely fine. Or if you're like, I want to have a whole dessert to myself, maybe you get an entree that's just more protein and veggie heavy, and you don't get an appetizer. So you're kind of like weighing the pros and cons and making sure you're making that dessert work. What's interesting about restaurants is people will get an appetizer. Well, they'll get a drink. They'll get an appetizer. They got an entree. They're stuffed. They're really full. And then all of a sudden dessert comes out and you're like, yeah, I could have a whole slice of cheesecake because it's sweet. It's like different. Your body really can bypass those sensors of being really full when you eat something incredibly sweet after like a savory meal. So that could be a trap to just try not to get yourself into. Or maybe a better thing is to not get dessert at the restaurant, but just go home and have something. If you're like, I really want dessert, I'm going to go home and have something that's healthier, because you can have a healthy dessert at home. So that could be, a better move as well.
Take a walk, get some froyo after, maybe.
Definitely. Yeah, I think walking after eating out is a really good hack. But you just have to, or if you feel like there's a restaurant where there's no good options, but you want to make good options, pick a different restaurant. Like there's a million restaurants out there. You can look at menus in advance. You really can make sure where you're going, you could find something you like and you feel good about before you go. And I think a lot of people have control over the dinner plan. If you're going to a restaurant, you can suggest where you want to go if there's something you like you have that ability. You don't need to let other people decide where you're going to eat as well. Like you could totally, take more control of the planning process. That could be a way to also decrease the stress. And I think last thing, obviously, try to find something with protein and veggies. I always that's when I help people with menus. I'm always looking for something that has like a good chunk of quality protein and ideally some sort of vegetable to be found. Like that's a good thing to look for. And then try to eat both of those first and then save the starches or like the French fries or the rice or the noodles for more towards the end of your meal. Because if you eat your protein and veggie and there's a little bit of starch left over, I think that's completely fine. And you're going to probably save hundreds of calories, but also a lot of carbohydrates as well, which no shortage of those in restaurant meals, but sometimes finding a protein and a vegetable actually is a little hard.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Is that everything?
That's it. I think so.
I love it. Great. I will just add, be, as always, in touch with how you feel after you eat stuff. Kat mentioned fried food. Kat, one of the things we worked on when you were my coach was just untraining my brain to associate red meat as the only lever for cholesterol. And you were like, really fried food and alcohol is going to have a much bigger impact than having a grass-fed burger probably. And I've noticed like fish and chips is a good example of a meal that is available in a lot of places. Sounds healthy because you hear fish and you're like, oh, fish. But it's like, the amount of fried food, the amount of oil on a plate with both fried fish and French fries is insane. And I would just feel it immediately. And like, I actually rarely get that anymore. And I will much quicker opt for the burger and either enjoy the bun or maybe take half of the bun off or whatever and get a salad on the side. Like infinitely better meal choice for me. And so sometimes you can just really be your own coach where you're like, this meal doesn't make me feel good. And maybe you don't totally understand why, but it's a good learning of like the stuff they put in these meals. You don't always know what it is. There's a reason, as Kat said, that it tastes really good, a lot better than how you make it at home. It might not just agree with you, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And also, on that note, advocate for yourself. Don't recreate a menu item that doesn't exist. No one likes that person. But if you just want like a salad without blue cheese, or you want, a burger without a bun, or you want your chicken grilled and not fried, or you don't want oil or butter on it, you can ask for these things and you will get it.
Yep.
It's the people who don't ask because they're afraid who don't get the healthier options they're looking for. But you can always make some sort of tweak. Like I'm always having to remove some sort of dairy or something, and I don't feel bad about it because I legitimately, like, that's how I would prefer my meal to go, and it's very easy. You kind of also get a sense of what's easy to leave off of something, or something that's like deeply incorporated into the dish that's really annoying. But the worst that's going to happen is you slightly inconvenience the waiter or the chef or whatever, but you will get what you want. Trust me, there are way more annoying people at restaurants all day long. Like, you trying to modify something is not a big deal. And I think restaurants are really on to the fact that people kind of want to be a little bit healthier these days. So it's whatever you're requesting. It's not like it hasn't been done before. And if it's not possible, all they're going to do is tell you that. And then you move on. Like, it's not going to become a thing. No one's mad at you. You don't
Right.
need to feel embarrassed. But I think a lot of people carry a lot of shame, especially in if it's a work dinner. You don't want to be like saying something, because then people are like, oh, why don't you just do the whatever, And it's like, too bad. You're advocating for yourself. You'll feel good about that choice. Like, people are always going to have annoying things to say, but that shouldn't stop you from making the choice that you would feel most proud to make.
That's right. That's right. Most servers now, the first thing, at a decent restaurant at least, the first thing they'll say is any food allergies. And so it's like, you can throw yourself in there if it's avoiding, Kat, for you, autoimmune, whatever it might be. I think that's all fair. Don't forget 40% of Americans are obese. Like, you might feel like you're in the minority at the Cheesecake Factory, but like, that's not, be the person you want to be. Don't worry what everyone else is doing.
Yep, 100%.
Love it. All right. Well, you can get more from Kat on Instagram at KatBestWellness. Get more from me on Instagram at Andrew Hayes Life. And we will have lots more summer shorts coming up for you this summer. So thanks for listening, and see you for the next one.
Thanks, guys.